What's up guys, and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So guys, channel membership is now live. Link is in the description and the first comment. Do check it out. That would really help support the channel. So the complete results, as well as the scorecards for the Legion Sports that is now out. And as expected, Tony Burton wins that show. And that too in a very dominating fashion. And he punches his Olympia ticket. But before we talk about Tony Burton, I want to talk about the big mess that happened during the prejudging, and that was in regards to Colusius Ken, aka Kennedy. Now even a fan with very little bodybuilding knowledge, they could see that Ken looked way better than, I'm gonna say, Blessing at the prejudging. Or even if we take out Blessing from that equation, Colusius himself, he was looking pretty solid, and he should have been in that first call out. And almost all of us questioned that call made by the judges on why Ken wasn't in that top 5. Or it could have been a comparison of the top 6 guys during the prejudging. Now have a look at the scorecards. When the judges realized that they have messed up big time, they changed the prejudging scores and put Ken in 5th during both sessions. Now can anyone out there explain why a guy ended up in 5th place after the prejudging when he wasn't even in that first call out of top 5 guys? In fact, they did not even compare him to all these other guys once. Now, that being said, I think Colusius Ken looked amazing throughout this show. I mean, he was as conditioned as he was at his pro debut at the New York Pro. And he brought a lot of size and thickness and muscularity to the stage. And he could have been higher than even 5th. But do let me know, what do you guys think? Was that a fair call by the judges? Now let's talk about the biggest disappointment that we saw at this year's Legion Sports. And that of course is Blessing Avutibu, who was making his comeback to the bodybuilding stage after almost 2 years. He hired a new coach, one of the best out there, Stefan, and he could not even place in that top 5 in what we can call was comparatively a weak lineup compared to all the past shows that we have seen throughout this year, especially in comparison to something like the Pittsburgh Pro or the New York Pro. And for those of you guys who do not know, that was originally his plan, to compete at the Pittsburgh Pro and the New York Pro. Now it is kind of ironic that almost all the people out there, they were saying that Blessing won't be in shape based on all the pictures that he was posting. The only people who could not see that, they were him and his coach. Now condition wise, this was probably the worst physique of Blessing Avutibu to step on the stage. Apart from, I'm gonna say, Chicago Pro back in 2023. Forget the leg imbalance. Blessing was simply not in a condition to have a shot at this title last night. And let's for 1 second talk about Stefan, Blessing's coach, and his performance during this year. James Hollingshead, he was off. Martin Fitzwater, he was big time off. Regan Grimes at his first show at the New York Pro, he missed his mark, especially the way he faded during that prejudging. But that being said, let's take a look at the names who performed really well under Stefan's coaching this year. William Bonac and Regan Grimes at California Pro. Now, I do not know what it says about him as one of the best coach in the industry right now, but that is less than 50% success rate. Now, Blessing Avutibu has been getting a lot of criticism, especially on his waistline, more specifically his obliques, that they just grew a lot during these past 2 years. Well, here is a comparison of him from Flex Pro Italy back in 2023 versus today at the Legion Sports, and you can see he always had those thicker obliques. And I have got to say, his waistline, that only looks awesome when he pulls a vacuum. But we do see what people have been pointing out, him pushing beyond 320 pounds during this past off season in what we can call was a dirty bulk that led him to growing them a bit more. And just because he was off, that got noticed a lot more. Now let's take a look at the biggest question in regards to Blessing. Did Blessing grow his legs? For that, let's take a look at his front double biceps from that same show, Flex Pro Italy, his last show back in 2023 versus the look that he brought last night. Well, Blessing had a lot of struggle growing that outer quad sweep, so he decided to add more thickness in his adductors, which was a good call, because looking at this front comparison, you can see that he has a much better balance right now compared to back in 2023. So he added overall more width in the side chest. But considering the fact that he's probably gonna drop an additional of 10 more pounds to be truly peeled and come in ripped, we have no idea how his legs are gonna look like when he drops that additional weight when he pulls more of that water out of his body. Now that back double biceps from Flex Pro versus Legion, that is going to paint a very accurate picture on how terrible Blessing's conditioning was, especially in the hamstrings and the glutes. Now Blessing is obviously going to tighten up in the upcoming shows, but he's probably going to lose that added size at the expense of that conditioning. So how do you guys rate this performance? And does anyone else think that Blessing looked at his career's best working with George Farrell back in 2022? Now let's talk about the winner Tonio Burton, who lived up to his reputation of never coming in off. From the start till the end, he was the clear winner, and congratulations to him on earning his Olympia spot. But where does he stand in terms of the comparison in that Olympia top 8? Well, I'm guessing he's gonna have to put in a little more work, try and add a few more pounds before the Olympia this year, because he was top 8 at his last Mr. Olympia, and he's gonna have to beat guys like Brendan Curry, William Bonac, Rafael Brandao, possibly Regan, because those were the guys in those slots at the Olympia last year. Now we have to keep in mind his own aim for the Olympia this year, that is placing in that top 6. Now I'm gonna say that is a bit too difficult, but do let me know how high can Tonio place, in your opinion. Now Patrick Moore was easily the biggest surprise of this show. Finally he played to his strengths. He brought crazy aesthetics, combined that with amazing conditioning. That was something that was missing from him in the recent past, which just goes to show us and him that he needs to pick the right shoe, and he still have a good shot at getting another Olympia qualification. So after this showing from Patrick, he is probably gonna try and replicate the 2019 Olympia look in every show that he enters. And although he did not win this one, but it was kind of a redemption for Patrick, since everyone was counting him out and nobody out there had him in their top 3, especially after the way he looked at this year's Cali Pro, which happened last weekend. So Bruno Santos in 3rd place. I guess he's gonna have to fight very hard to get to that Olympia stage this year and win another pro show. Now Florian Porzin in 4th place in his second comeback show in the men's open class. Now in my opinion, he could have been as high as 3rd. So Florian will continue to put some work on his upper body, because if he can create more balance in his upper and lower half, he will be so much more dangerous. But more importantly, he needs to make some improvements in his back, especially in that back lat spread. That is the area where Florian is losing the most points. So other than Colesio's scan and the mishap during the prejudging, which I'm glad that the judges listened to the fans and they corrected their mistake. So apart from that, it was a great show overall. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.